Why do so many people spend their lives avoiding conflict, only to feel trapped and powerless? Think about it for a moment. How many times have you swallowed your words, stayed silent when you should have spoken, or agreed with something you didn't believe in, just to keep the peace? On the surface, it looks like harmony, but deep inside, it feels like chains. Carl Jung believed that our fear of conflict is not really about others. It's about the parts of ourselves we're too afraid to face. And here's the paradox. The more we avoid conflict, the more it controls us. You've probably felt it before. That tension in your chest when you want to say no, but end up saying yes. That moment when your heart screams for truth, but your lips remain shut. Conflict is uncomfortable, no doubt. But Jung revealed something powerful. Avoidance doesn't free us. It enslaves us. The real prison is not built by other people. It's built by our own silence. Have you ever wondered what might happen if you stopped running from these battles and finally faced them? The truth is, conflict is not just about fights or disagreements. It's about transformation. Jung saw conflict as the stage where the shadow reveals itself, the hidden fears, desires, and insecurities we keep buried. Every time we avoid conflict, we push that shadow deeper, but it never disappears. It waits and it grows until one day it takes control in ways we don't even notice. That's why conflict feels so terrifying. It threatens the masks we've carefully built. And yet, Jung insisted that facing it is the only way to find authenticity. Imagine living without the constant pressure of pleasing others, without the endless anxiety of keeping up appearances. Imagine the freedom of speaking your truth, even if it shakes the ground beneath you. What would that feel like? Scary, yes, but also liberating. Conflict, when faced with courage, becomes a doorway. Not a doorway to chaos, but to self-knowledge, strength, and real freedom. The fear we carry is not a sign to run away. It's a signal that growth is on the other side. And here's something that may surprise you. Jung believed that most of the conflicts we dread with other people are actually mirrors of our inner wars. The arguments we avoid, the criticism we fear, the rejection we can't bear, each one points to an unresolved tension within ourselves. That means every external conflict is a chance to face an internal truth. Can you see how powerful that is? Stay with me until the end, because what we're about to uncover are not just theories. These are timeless psychological truths that can change how you see yourself, how you handle others, and ultimately, how free you can become. The fear of conflict doesn't have to define you. It can guide you. And if you're willing to look deeper, you'll discover that conflict is not the enemy you think it is. It may just be your greatest teacher. Now let's explore the first of Jung's 8 truths about conflict and why. Embracing it could be the beginning of your freedom. And maybe as you're listening right now, certain memories or situations are already coming to mind. Moments when you avoided conflict and later felt the weight of regret, or perhaps times when you faced it and discovered strength you didn't know you had. If this speaks to you, I'd love to hear your voice in the comments. Share what resonated with you most, or even a personal story where conflict revealed something unexpected. Your experience might be exactly what someone else here needs to read. And if you're finding value in this journey, take a second to like this video. It's a small gesture, but it truly helps the message reach more people who are searching for this kind of wisdom. When you engage, it signals that these conversations matter, that they deserve to be seen by others who might be struggling in silence. And if you're new here, or if you've been watching quietly from the sidelines, consider subscribing to the channel. This space is built for people who are seeking depth, clarity, and the kind of psychological truths that can reshape the way we live. By subscribing, you're not just following along, you're becoming part of a community that values growth, honesty, and the courage to face what most people run from. Because the truth is, your participation is what gives life to this channel. Every comment, every like, every new subscriber strengthens this circle of people willing to confront reality, to look within, and to embrace the kind of knowledge that lasts. So if this message is touching something in you, let it show. Add your voice, leave your mark, and stay with us as we continue exploring the truths that Carl Jung left behind. Now, let's go deeper into the very first of these truths, where Jung shows us why conflict is not just a burden, but a mirror of the shadow that waits within. Conflict is not only about clashing with others, it is about the quiet, invisible battles we fight within ourselves every single day. Carl Jung understood that what frightens us most is not the argument with another person, but the moment we are forced to face the hidden layers of our own mind. He called this the confrontation with the shadow, the side of us that carries the fears, desires, and truths we often bury because we think they are too dark or too dangerous to admit. And yet, it is in this very confrontation that the possibility of freedom begins to emerge. Think about the last time you avoided saying what you truly felt. On the surface, you may have kept the peace, but deep inside, a part of you remained unsettled. That unsettled part is the shadow speaking, whispering that silence comes at a cost. Every time we deny it, the shadow grows stronger, shaping our decisions in ways we cannot see. This is why Jung insisted that conflict, rather than being something to escape, is an opportunity for transformation. It is a mirror that reveals the hidden patterns shaping our lives, patterns that quietly guide our behavior from behind the scenes. When we choose avoidance, we may believe we are keeping harmony, but the truth is we are sacrificing authenticity. We lose touch with our own voice, and little by little, our mental landscape becomes defined not by who we are, but by what we fear. That is why conflict matters. It forces us to confront what lies beneath the surface, to expose the truth that has been buried. The impact of this realization is powerful. It means that freedom does not come from avoiding struggle, but from embracing it with courage. This is not about chasing fights or seeking drama. It is about recognizing that every external clash carries a hidden message, an echo of the unresolved tension inside. The arguments we dread, the rejection we fear, the pressure we avoid, each one is a revelation waiting to be uncovered. The shadow is not an enemy to destroy, but a teacher that points us toward growth. If we can allow ourselves to see conflict not as chaos but as a gateway, then each confrontation becomes part of a larger journey toward authenticity and strength. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, exploring how conflict reveals the shadow and why this truth changes the way we understand freedom itself. But before we continue, I'd like to hear your perspective. Write in the comments, "This makes sense to me." When Jung spoke about the shadow, he was pointing to the hidden parts of ourselves we prefer to keep in the dark, the fears we try to silence, the desires we deny, the insecurities we mask with a carefully built image. Conflict has a way of tearing through that mask. In the heat of disagreement, when emotions rise and the pressure becomes unbearable, the shadow slips through the cracks. Suddenly we say things we didn't know we believed, or we feel a surge of jealousy, anger, or vulnerability that surprises even us. This is why conflict is such a powerful force. It reveals the truth that lives beneath the surface. Think about it. How often do you discover something new about yourself, not in moments of comfort, but in moments of tension? The argument with a friend that shows you how deeply you fear rejection, the clash at work that uncovers your hidden craving for recognition, the family dispute that exposes how much you still long for approval. These are not random reactions, they are revelations. And as painful as they might feel, they are also invitations to growth. Jung believed that the process of individuation, the journey of becoming whole, cannot happen without confronting the shadow. Each conflict is like a mirror, reflecting back the aspects of ourselves that demand attention. When we run from these reflections, we remain fragmented, divided, and at war within. But when we stop, when we dare to face what conflict uncovers, we begin to integrate. Integration does not mean perfection. It means acceptance, acknowledging both light and darkness as part of who we are. This is why conflict can feel terrifying yet transformative. It pushes us past the surface of polite conversations and into the raw territory of truth. The shadow revealed is uncomfortable, but it is also the starting point of freedom. By seeing what has been hidden, we gain the chance to choose differently, to step out of unconscious patterns and into conscious decisions. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because if conflict reveals the shadow, the next question is, what happens when we refuse to face it? Avoidance often feels like the easiest path. We convince ourselves that staying quiet, stepping back, or pretending nothing happened is a way of keeping the peace. But Jung warned that this illusion of peace comes with a hidden cost. Every time we avoid conflict, we surrender a piece of our own power. Silence may look like strength from the outside, but on the inside it chains us to unresolved tension. And the truth is, those unspoken battles never vanish. They linger in the background, shaping our decisions, eroding our confidence, and quietly dictating the direction of our lives. Think of the times you've bitten your tongue when you knew you should have spoken, or the situations where you agreed just to avoid rocking the boat. In those moments, it might feel like you are in control, yet in reality, you are letting fear decide for you. Fear of rejection, fear of disapproval, fear of being seen as difficult. Little by little, those fears start making your choices. And when fear is in control, freedom disappears. That is the slavery Jung described. Not chains on the outside, but invisible chains within the mind. Avoidance also hands our power directly to others. When we refuse to set boundaries or express what we truly believe, we allow others to define the rules of our lives. They speak louder, they decide more, and we shrink into smaller versions of ourselves. The impact goes deeper than one single argument. It builds a pattern where we no longer trust our own voice, and the longer this pattern continues, the harder it becomes to break free. Jung taught that facing conflict, though uncomfortable, is far less destructive than letting unresolved tensions control us. The pain of confrontation lasts a moment. The pain of avoidance can last a lifetime. Real strength comes not from avoiding battles, but from entering them with honesty and courage, because once you face conflict, you reclaim the authority that silence tried to steal. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, exploring why Jung believed that conflict is not destruction, but the very path toward authenticity. Conflict has a way of stripping away the masks we wear. Jung believed that much of our life is spent living through the persona, the polished version of ourselves we present to the world. It's the smile when we're exhausted, the polite nod when we disagree, the calm silence when our thoughts are burning inside. The persona protects us, but it also distances us from authenticity. And it is in conflict, when the pressure builds and the stakes rise, that we are forced to make a choice. Do we hide behind the persona, or do we step forward and reveal who we really are? Think of those moments when your values collide with someone else's expectations. Maybe it's a boss who demands something you know is unfair, or a friend whose words cross a boundary you can't ignore. In those moments, conflict becomes more than disagreement. It becomes a test of identity. To stay silent is to betray your truth. To speak is to risk disapproval, but it is in the risk that authenticity is born. Clarity emerges not when life is smooth, but when it is disrupted. Confrontation draws out the real self, the one that cannot hide behind masks forever. Jung taught that authenticity requires courage, because it demands we step out from behind the walls we build. Conflict provides that push. It creates the fire where false layers burn away, leaving behind the raw core of who we are. This process is uncomfortable, yes, but it is also liberating. For the first time, you hear your own voice clearly, unfiltered by the need to please or the fear of judgment. Authenticity does not mean aggression. It does not mean winning every argument or crushing opposition. It means alignment, your words, actions, and inner truth moving together as one. And conflict, paradoxically, is the place where this alignment is tested and strengthened. Every time you dare to speak your truth in the face of resistance, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because Jung revealed that the enemies we fear outside are often mirrors of the unresolved battles within. Jung believed that the enemies we see in the world often carry the face of the struggles we refuse to face within. When you find yourself furious at someone's arrogance, it may be because a hidden part of you longs for boldness, but has been silenced. When another person's criticism cuts too deeply, it may reveal the insecurity you've tried so hard to bury. This is the uncomfortable truth. The conflicts we fear outside are rarely just about other people. They are reflections, mirrors held up by life itself, showing us the inner battles we've left unresolved. Think about how certain patterns repeat in your relationships. Perhaps you notice the same type of tension, the same kind of disagreement, appearing again and again, no matter who the other person is. It almost feels like déjà vu. Jung would say this is not coincidence. It's the psyche pushing the shadow to the surface through external events, demanding to be recognized. Until you confront the inner source, the outer conflicts will keep reappearing in different forms. This doesn't mean every fight is your fault. It means conflict is meaningful, carrying messages from the unconscious. The people who trigger us the most are often teachers, even if unwilling ones. They reveal what we have not yet integrated: our pride, our fear, our hunger for validation, our resistance to vulnerability. Each enemy is an echo of the battlefield within. And by recognizing this, conflict becomes less about blame and more about revelation. The path to freedom, Jung taught, begins when we stop projecting all evil outward and start acknowledging what lives inside us. This shift is powerful. Instead of seeing the world as filled with enemies, we begin to see opportunities for growth. The anger that rises becomes a signal. The discomfort becomes a doorway. And with each confrontation, the question is not only what did they do, but what is this showing me about myself? Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because Jung reminded us that real freedom never comes without courage, and courage is born in the face of conflict. Freedom is often imagined as a life without obstacles, a state of constant ease where nothing disturbs our peace. But Jung's understanding was far more demanding and far more real. For him, freedom was never about escaping discomfort. It was about walking straight into it with courage. True freedom begins the moment you decide that fear will no longer dictate your choices, and conflict is where this decision is tested. It asks, will you remain silent to stay comfortable, or will you endure discomfort to remain authentic? Courage does not mean recklessness. It means having the strength to stand in the fire of opposition without losing yourself. Imagine the weight of speaking AI, difficult truth to someone who holds power over you, a parent, a partner, a leader at work, the anxiety, the pounding heart, the temptation to retreat. Yet if you step forward, if you endure that storm without betraying your own voice, you taste the kind of freedom Jung described. It is not about the outcome of the conflict, but about the integrity you carry through it. This kind of courage transforms the way we live. When we stop fearing discomfort, new possibilities open. We can set boundaries without guilt, say no without apology, and pursue paths that others might not understand. Every act of courage is a declaration that your inner truth matters more than external approval. And over time, these choices build a life rooted not in fear, but in strength. Jung taught that the soul does not grow in safety, it grows in challenge. Freedom demands we take risks, risk rejection, risk misunderstanding, risk failure. Without that risk, we remain trapped in a comfort that quietly suffocates us. With it, we begin to expand into the fullness of who we are meant to be. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because conflict not only calls for courage, it also becomes the very engine of growth, shaping the strength of the self. Growth never happens in still waters. Jung believed that just as the body strengthens through resistance, the psyche matures through conflict. When life runs too smoothly, when we avoid friction and challenge, we may feel safe, but inside, the soul begins to stagnate. Conflict forces us to stretch, to confront resistance, and in doing so, it shapes a stronger, deeper sense of self. Every time we face a difficult conversation, an uncomfortable truth, or a painful disagreement, we are engaging in the very process that builds resilience. Think about physical training. A muscle does not grow by resting in comfort. It grows when it is pushed, tested, and torn slightly so it can rebuild stronger. The human spirit follows the same principle. Conflict tears at the old structures we cling to, the illusions, the false identities, the easy habits, and invites us to rebuild on foundations that are more real. The pain of the moment becomes the raw material for transformation. Without this process, we risk living lives that are shallow, fragile, and easily broken by the first storm that comes. Consider how many of your most important lessons came from moments of struggle, a friendship tested by honesty that revealed who truly stood by you, a failure that forced you to confront limitations and discover hidden potential, a disagreement that taught you where your values truly stand. These moments, though uncomfortable, become turning points. Conflict sharpens the edges of our character, stripping away weakness and revealing strength we did not know we possessed. Jung insisted that individuation, the journey of becoming whole, requires this kind of testing. The soul must be challenged, or it remains undeveloped, like a seed that never breaks. Through the soil, conflict provides the friction that awakens dormant power and calls us into maturity. It is not something to be feared, but embraced as part of the larger journey. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject, because while conflict strengthens us, Jung also taught that its ultimate purpose is not victory but integration, a unifying of opposites within the self. When most people enter conflict, their instinct is to win, to crush the other side, to silence disagreement, to walk away with the last word. But Jung saw conflict through a very different lens. He believed the real purpose of confrontation is not victory, but integration. If we approach every battle determined to destroy what opposes us, we miss the deeper opportunity, the chance to reconcile opposing forces and create something larger than either side alone. True resolution is not about erasing paradox. It is about embracing it. Think about the arguments that repeat endlessly, where no one really wins. They cycle because both sides are clinging to their position, refusing to acknowledge the hidden truth in the other. Jung suggested that integration means holding space for contradiction, recognizing that life itself is built from opposites, light and dark, strength and vulnerability, independence and connection. Conflict becomes transformative when we stop asking, "How do I defeat them?" and begin asking, "What can this tension teach me about wholeness?" Integration does not mean surrendering your values or pretending differences do not exist. It means stepping beyond the narrow frame of winning and losing and seeing the broader picture that emerges when both perspectives are acknowledged. In psychological terms, this is the union of opposites. In human terms, it's the moment when a fight reveals not just separation, but a hidden invitation to greater understanding. This shift changes the way we live. Instead of fearing conflict as a threat, we begin to see it as a forge where clashing forces shape new clarity. The impact is profound. Relationships deepen, self-knowledge expands, and our inner world grows more stable. Victory divides, but integration unites, and it is unity within the self that leads to true peace. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because Jung's final truth shows us that conflict, far from being a curse, is actually the door that opens directly into liberation. Jung's final truth strikes at the very core of what it means to be human. When we stop fearing conflict, we stop fearing life itself. Most of the chains that bind us are not physical but psychological, chains made of fear, avoidance, and silence. Conflict, when consciously faced, shatters those chains. It is not the enemy we imagine, but the threshold we must cross to experience real freedom. Every avoided confrontation keeps us tied to the same patterns, while every conflict faced with awareness becomes a step into liberation. Think of the weight you carry when you hold back your truth. The tension grows, the anxiety lingers, and no matter how hard you try to push it away, it follows you like a shadow. That is not freedom. That is a prison built from fear of discomfort. But the moment you confront it, when you speak, when you face opposition, when you allow yourself to stand in the storm, you discover that what felt unbearable was survivable, even transformative. Conflict doesn't destroy you. It strengthens you, cleanses you, reveals who you are beneath the masks. This is why Jung saw conflict not as chaos but as a passage. To live without fear of conflict is to live fully. It means being able to move through the world without constant self-censorship, without the exhausting weight of keeping up appearances. It means acting from authenticity, even if it means facing rejection. Liberation is not comfort. It is the unshakable confidence that you can face whatever comes without losing yourself. The truth is, conflict will always be part of life. You cannot eliminate it, and trying to do so only makes you smaller. But you can transform your relationship with it. Instead of dreading its arrival, you can welcome it as a messenger, a teacher, and a doorway to freedom. In this way, conflict ceases to be the cage and becomes the key. Now I want to go even deeper into this journey, bringing together all of Jung's 8 truths to reveal the larger picture of how conflict, when embraced, becomes one of the most powerful forces of transformation in our lives. Carl Jung didn't see conflict as chaos. He saw it as the crucible where transformation takes place. Every clash, every moment of discomfort, every tension that shakes us is not meant to break us, but to reveal us. If you run from it, you remain a prisoner, tied to the fears and insecurities you refuse to face. But if you step into it with courage, conflict becomes the very fire that forges freedom. This is the paradox Jung uncovered. The thing we fear most is often the very thing that can set us free. And freedom, in his view, was not about escaping life's storms, but about learning to stand in the center of them with integrity. Think for a moment about the 8 truths we've explored. Each one is not just an idea, but an invitation to live differently. Conflict reveals the shadow, shows us where avoidance enslaves us, pushes us toward authenticity, mirrors the battles inside, demands courage, fuels growth, teaches integration, and ultimately opens the door to liberation. Together, they paint a picture of conflict not as an obstacle to avoid, but as a companion on the journey to becoming whole. So now the question turns to you. Which of these truths struck you the deepest? Was it the idea that avoiding conflict actually enslaves us, or the revelation that every external fight is just a mirror of what's unresolved within? Maybe it was the final truth, that conflict, when faced consciously, is the door to freedom itself. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your experiences, your reflections. Share them in the comments because your voice doesn't just add to the conversation, it helps build a community of people committed to growth, courage, and authenticity. And if this message resonated with you, if you felt its impact, take a moment to like this video. It may seem small, but it's what helps this wisdom reach others who need to hear it. And of course, subscribe if you want to continue this journey with us. There are more truths to uncover, more voices to learn from, more revelations to explore together. Because this isn't just about watching a video, it's about being part of a movement toward deeper understanding and timeless wisdom. One conflict, one truth, and one act of courage at a time. If you've stayed with me all the way until now, it probably means something in this message resonated deeply with you. And that's exactly why this space exists, to bring forward the kind of wisdom that challenges, transforms, and stays with you long after the video ends. If you want to keep walking this path of deeper understanding together, consider subscribing to the channel. That way you'll always have a place to return to when you're ready for more insights that connect psychology, philosophy, and the art of living with authenticity. I'd also love to know who made it here until the very end. Drop a comment saying, "This message was for me." It's a simple way to let me know you're part of this journey, and it helps create a circle of people who are walking through these ideas side by side. And if you felt that connection, a like on this video is always appreciated. It's a way of saying this conversation mattered, and it helps these ideas reach others who might be searching for the same clarity. There's much more to explore, and this doesn't have to end here. There's another video waiting for you right here that builds on what we've been talking about. Click on it, and let's keep going deeper together.